So welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I am trying to do a different intro to what I usually say because I realize that I always say the exact same opening line to all my videos and it gets kind of weird when you always say the same thing. So I'm really hoping that that was a bit of a different opening line. And if you have watched my channel before, you'll notice that I am in a bit of a different backdrop. So I usually film my videos at my parents' house, but now I've moved apartments again in London. So I'm now in a new room. I'm in a room where I can film YouTube videos. So this is going to be the new backdrop. And I'm very aware that I need to make it so much more aesthetically pleasing. I have literally just moved in, so I still need to make it way, way better. But this is the new space for now. And today in this video, what I wanted to talk about was niche and useful fashion sources. Because when I first started getting into fashion and learning about fashion, I only really knew about the mainstream sources. So the mainstream publications, the mainstream Instagram pages and influencers, but there really are so many useful sources, resources that aren't really that well known or are really emerging that I just wanted to share with you today because I know you're going to find them really useful and interesting as well. And it's literally a list of 28 different things, so I'm just going to go through them really quick and explain them really briefly, and then from there, what you find interesting you can go and look into more and check out more. And I've also kind of categorized them into different sections because I wanted to do a mix of free online sources but also physical spaces where you can learn about fashion or learn about different publications, and also of course printed media as well. So it really is a big mix. And the first thing and the first category that I want to share with you is of course fashion YouTubers. And some of these are big names, they are big in the fashion industry, so you already may have heard of them, but others are a bit smaller as well. And the first one of course I want to talk about is fashionroadman. And the reason that I love this YouTube channel is because he really does so many deep dives into runways and also just the goings on of the fashion world and fashion news and fashion business as well. And if you really want to learn about the fashion industry overall and just creative directors and just the fashion news that is always evolving and changing, then fashionroadman's YouTube is the perfect place to get a full, well-rounded education on fashion. So I of course had to mention him and this channel first. And the second YouTube channel that I love, that I watch so much on YouTube, is Showstudio's YouTube. And obviously they do post so much, and I'm always surprised they don't get more views, to be honest, because the panel talks that they do are so in depth, and they obviously have people from different aspects of the creative industry who relate to fashion in different ways. So you always learn something new, and I'm always just so blown away by the knowledge that these people have who are on the panel talks. And it's just such, again, a critical and in-depth analysis of the fashion industry. Then the next niche fashion YouTube channel that I really wanted to mention is the Fashion Forensics one. And this is actually a podcast, and it's only just launched. I think it launched a couple of months ago, I believe. And I only just came across it. I came across it from one of the first reels that they posted, and I was intrigued by this podcast because they were interviewing Alexander Fiore and also Jordan Luca, and since then they've also interviewed so many incredible guests as well. And I'm not sure the name of the guy who actually is the interviewer and who has set up this podcast, but I'll put his Instagram on screen so you can check him out as well. The guests that he's had on are very impressive, but they're also niche in themselves. So they're the kind of fashion professionals that if you know, you know, and if you're in the industry, you know. And in that way, it makes this podcast so much more intriguing for me because I really want to hear the story of designers like Jordan Luca or people like Alexander Fiore, because you don't really see them in mainstream media, but it's also way more interesting to hear about their story and their perspective of fashion. So I'm really, really intrigued to see where this fashion forensics podcast and YouTube goes. I think it's already looking like such a great source, and I think they only have like 600 followers at the moment on Instagram, so definitely do go check that one out if you haven't seen them already. And then just some other YouTube channels that I wanted to spotlight is of course hautelemode, and I just watch hautelemode literally because it's entertaining. I really love his fashion roast that he does, and when I was younger I always used to watch Fashion Police, and I loved it because they used to really roast the red carpet looks, and I just feel like that kind of fashion criticism is really lacking in the industry, so it's really great that hautelemode really does roasting fashion in an entertaining way and is kind of keeping that aspect of fashion commentary and criticism alive, so always love that one. And of course I also watch Understitched and Bliss Foster and Mary's Room as well, and all of those are just kind of great sources again if you just want an overall understanding of the fashion industry, if you want to learn more about luxury fashion, the inner workings of fashion. And I really find the more you watch, the more it all kind of pieces together, and you hear one name and then you hear it in another video and all the pieces start filling in until you suddenly know a lot about fashion. You know a lot of designers, creative directors and brands, and yeah, they're also just really entertaining as well. I really have them on as background YouTubers, stuff like that, so these are really my favorite ones and I really recommend subscribing to them if you don't know them already. And then the next category that I want to talk about is podcasts, and of course the first podcast that I want to spotlight is Brendawareness, and honestly this is probably one of my favorite podcasts at the moment. Ever since she did the first episode, I think it was called like Bleach Demon last April, I have been so obsessed with it. I obviously love Brenda hashtag. I think she's so cool. I think her career journey has just been so inspiring because she's really paved her own way into influencing and fashion journalism, and I just think she's so cool. I love her aesthetic, and of course I really do love her podcast, and I love it because it's really relaxing to listen to because she kind of does it like a voice note, and she does it really unedited and casual, and in that way it's kind of refreshing to listen to. And I also think it's kind of the future of where podcasts are going. I think they're going to become way more casual, way more off the cuff and unedited, so I really like that she's one of the first creators to do a podcast in this way. And another of my favorite podcasts is of course Fashion People, and it's basically a podcast by the journalist Lauren Sherman, and she is a writer or an editor at the publication Puck, and she obviously covers fashion, and this podcast is actually part of Puck, but it really feels like Lauren's personal podcast. And I think the reason that it's done so well and made such a huge impact on the fashion industry in such a short amount of time is because Lauren really gives up-to-date news. It feels like every time you listen to it, you're just getting the inside scoop of all the breaking news that's going on in fashion. It really is probably my favorite fashion podcast at the moment, and I just think Lauren Sherman is such an amazing journalist, and yeah, I think it's only going to grow even more. And then another podcast that's made also such a huge impact on the fashion industry in a really short amount of time is Bella Freud's podcast, and again she posts this on streaming platforms but also on YouTube as well. And I love this podcast because again it's really relaxing to listen to, and the guests that Bella brings on are really, really interesting, and I like this podcast for a different reason. I don't really go to this for fashion news or for breaking news, stuff like that, or even to learn about the industry. It's more to learn about the specific person that Bella Freud is interviewing, and she's obviously such a unique person, a unique designer with a unique background, so it's just interesting to learn more about her as an interviewer as well as the friends that she brings on, and it's just a really relaxing one to listen to. I'm not always in the mood to listen to it because sometimes it feels a bit more slow, but when I am in the mood, it always hits the spot. And I just also like watching it as well because it's very unique, it's very aesthetically pleasing, so really love that one as well. And another niche podcast that you probably haven't heard of is called Articles of Interest, and I can't even remember where I came across this, but it's a podcast by Avery Trufelman, and she basically does these really in-depth deep dives into a very, very specific aspect of the fashion industry or a very, very specific aspect of a piece of clothing. So I think she's literally done an episode on things like pockets on clothing or tartan in clothing or denim or black and white, and she really delves into the history of it. And what I love about this podcast is because it's kind of been produced more like a documentary. So she really has gone out and traveled to different places, interviewed different people, and then put it all together. She also does a really in-depth Substack. So I do recommend checking out both the Articles of Interest Substack and the podcast as well. It's definitely very niche and you have to be in the mood to learn about the history of pockets or something like that. But when you do, it is very, very interesting. And I'm personally happy that I did come across it. And then just some other fashion podcasts that I did want to mention, but you might already know about is The Cutting Room Floor, which is obviously a great podcast. It's on YouTube and TikTok as well. And also The Run Through by Vogue. I have heard kind of mixed reviews about this podcast, but personally I find it really entertaining. I listen to every single episode. I find it fun to listen to, but also really informative as well. So I also definitely recommend this Vogue podcast as well. And then I did also just want to mention some other more random online sources that I personally find really useful, but I'm always surprised that most people don't know about them in the industry. And of course, the first one is archivepdf. And I think I've mentioned this on the channel before, but it's basically this free online resource that started as a Tumblr blog. I can't remember the exact year that it started on Tumblr, but now it's basically evolved into this really incredible online source, this online community of different scans of books, publications, interviews, or just really deep dive articles on fashion. And these are sources that aren't available to the public or through mainstream media, but they've basically collected and curated it all in one place so the general public can use it as a free source. So it really is amazing. If you don't know about it, definitely check it out. And this is something that I really noticed when I was doing my MA at CSM. When you read books and really delve into an old kind of fashion source or fashion book, sometimes that does have information that's more accurate or that just isn't available on the internet. I think we have this idea that absolutely everything is just available on the internet, but when I read certain books, I'll put them on the screen because I can't remember off the top of my head, but these books, for instance, that I read at CSM, they had designers that I'd never heard of, they had different campaigns and projects that I'd never heard of, and then when I went to Google them, I literally couldn't even find these reference images. So it is so good to continue to read old books as well, and that's why archivepdf is such an amazing online source. And the final kind of random niche online source that I wanted to mention was just Alec Leach's Substack. And I think I mentioned Alec Leach in my last video, and I recently bought his book, The World's on Fire But We're Still Buying Shoes, and I think he wrote this a few years ago. It's been around for ages and I've been meaning to read it for ages and happy that I do finally have it. But he basically was the old style editor for High Snobiety, and then he left High Snobiety in like 2018 or 2019 and decided to focus on sustainability. And he obviously does still do writing. He wrote his book and he also wrote runs his Substack as well. And I've only just got into Substack. I've only just started subscribing to people and reading them, but his is definitely a really, really good one. So I do definitely recommend subscribing to him, checking out what he writes. It's definitely super interesting. And then I did want to do a category within this list of sources where you can learn about new and emerging designers, because that's obviously something that I'm super interested in. I love coming across new, interesting kind of niche designers, and obviously there are a few really good Instagram pages that spotlight and highlight new designers, and these are of course labbeye and the Vanilla Issue, Epoch Store, and Opiants as well. I actually never know how you pronounce this one, but I think it's Epoch and Opiants that have been around for the longest, and then the others have only just cropped up. And I personally have been following these for the longest time. I think I started following Epoch literally in 2020 when they first launched, and they're so amazing because they really capture the designers who are doing really obscure, interesting, innovative things, and they really get them at the start of their career and post them on their page. And in that way, it's just a great source to go to if you're wanting to discover new designers who have interesting practices, or you just want to look at some aesthetically pleasing photographs and images. And of course, Epoch and Opiants have their online stores as well. So if you're wanting to shop from these designers as well, that is also where I go. And then the final category that I want to talk about to wrap up this niche and useful fashion sources list is kind of the category of physical spaces or physical places where you can buy different fashion publications. And the first one is Climax bookstore, and this unfortunately is based in New York. So I have not been to this bookstore yet. I really want to go. I would literally go to New York just to check out this bookstore. I really wish it was based in London, or they open one or would open one in London, but I just came across them on Instagram, and I believe it was founded and created by the ex-editor-in-chief at Dazed. So her name is Isabella Burley, I believe, and she's just created this incredible concept for a bookstore because first and foremost, the aesthetic of this space is so satisfying. It's so cool. I really love the pink branding mixed with the chrome and the books. It just looks so cool, and she's obviously had so many influential guests come in, so she's really doing the marketing really well, and that's obviously why it stood out to me. It's why I want to go, and just overall it's a really cool concept for a store. So if you don't know about them, if you're based in New York or going to a trip to New York, definitely recommend checking it out. I will be living through you, and I'd be really intrigued to know what it is like in person. In terms of places to go in London where you can buy different fashion publications, I kind of mentioned this in my last video as well, but of course I recommend donlonbooks in London, also Artwordsbookshop, The Basement, Airmail News in Marylebone, and also Charlotte Street magazines in Soho in London as well. I've now been to the majority of these book and magazine shops, and honestly they're just so satisfying to browse around, to see some interesting books, some interesting magazines, and it's always great inspiration to learn about different publications. If you're in London, definitely check out those. If you're in New York, check out Climax Books as well. And that was really everything that I had on this list. I really hope it is useful. Like I said at the start, you can obviously take away from this list what interests you, go check out what you want to check out, and hopefully it will provide some good inspiration. And obviously do leave a comment, like, subscribe. It helps the channel so much. And until the next one, I hope you have a great day. Bye.